Annelies calling in from Vreeland, Beesland. I love the way Rosa starts our alignment with some words. So my words today are working for the inner peace. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a little soft, but it may be my Zoom, so I don't quite know.
No, it's soft. I had to turn up my sound so I could hear you. Top. Juliet from County Cork, Southern Ireland. And I'm looking out at this incredible riot of color and feast for the senses of fairly wild nature going rampant with the height of the summer, with the flowers and the birds and the rabbits and it's just amazing. So beautiful. Feeling so grateful.
Oh, this is Hasina checking in from Newcastle, South Africa. And I just kind of feel relaxed right now, just in a state of being in the moment, of just relaxation and just unwinding, muscles releasing.
Asina, may I ask, are you on musicians on? Because, or something?
I didn't turn it off here. It's turned off now. It will be better. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Helena checking in from Switzerland, the Lake of Constance. I think I feel a big field around us, and this is shifting me into alignment, basically alignment with the earth and my body, of course.
This is, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yes, it could be a little bit louder. Maybe you just have to adjust the mic to be closer to you. Okay. And now you're muted. Okay. Oh, you're muted again. Wait, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Yes. No, muted again. Yes. Oh, I think let's see if you can unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I was going to the thoughts for now, but it's the feeling for now is presencing. Presence, being present to the moment. I'm glad to be back in the group. Yeah, just relax and being present to all of you and to myself. Thank you.
I like to add one little thing, and that's, I said, working for inner peace. But I like to add that I'm holding that as a hub for everyone who's not in inner peace at this moment. So
Thank you for that space. Let's
Yeah,
just land in the moment and Juliet, was there something you wanted to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just, I mean, talk about presencing, because I just am feeling here right now, but we've just been through an incredibly intense and powerful experience over the solstice between World Unity Week and all the energies and the solar flares and the intensity of what's been happening on the planet, I think, over the last 10 days. And yet it's funny how I feel I'm not even there right now. It's so amazing. And I just feel here right now, but just also wanted to just honor and thank everybody for everything that happened at World Unity Week and across the planet over the solstice. Because I think a lot has shifted. And yeah, I'm a bit in awe, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. I just want to quickly grab my own earphones to make it a little bit louder. Juliet, do you want to give your impressions of World Unity Week and, you know, everyone who was on at any particular time? I don't know, Rosa, Helena, were you on at any time? Okay, okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Um,
go
I
ahead.
have
Whoever wants to, if you want to speak, go ahead then. Yeah, we'll just.
sure. Yes, I attended the University Unity and Diversity plenary, and I think what was the other one? I think it was about environmental resilience, which yeah, no, that was. I mean, what I found really interesting is that when I looked at the program, everything was so interesting in terms of wanting to attend all of it. And unfortunately, something came up for me, and I wasn't as available as I wanted to be. But what was very, I think for me, what it became a very very important catalyst for me personally, because as I was looking at the different sessions and the different themes, and the fact that with the plenary there were the co-creation circles. And in the co-creation circles, there was such a strong sense, at least that's what I was sensing, of, okay, we've been talking, as in we, the group, because I'm quite new, but we've been talking about doing things, and now let's get down to nitty-gritty. How do we actually make this happen? And it was very inspiring for me, because in the last few months, I had been doing a lot of self-inquiry in terms of my own work and my own contribution through my work. And I had been sensing that I was going in the right direction, but that there was still something not quite right. And so that was something I was going through a process of letting things emerge. And just by being exposed to the different sessions, and some of them actually watched afterwards, I wanted to join, in fact, the healing session. I was chucked out of the room, and then I couldn't come back in, and I think it probably was my internet playing up. But I haven't seen that recording. What was that? Is it on the website? Because I tried to watch it.
That's
This is on the conference site.
That's a
I-
very good question. Because it wasn't a Hubcast session, it wasn't on Unity Earth TV, but it was definitely recorded. So actually, that's a good reminder to me to go have a look and see how I can access it and make sure it's on the World Unity Week page. Yeah.
Yes, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that. But the sessions that I attended were really inspiring and really brilliant. And I just feel that it's such an extraordinary endeavor, because it's on a global scale and at all layers of life. And so for me, it was incredibly inspiring. But as I said, it was a real catalyst for me to dig deeper in terms of my own direction and how I can contribute. I think what happened is that it gave me a clearer sense of exactly what I want to do and who I want to do it with, which I wasn't very clear about until just before World Unity Week. So that's what I meant. It was such a very important catalyst. And so I withdrew back within in order to listen to that very faint voice, which was saying to me, now you're getting there. And I thought, okay. And so I did that, and I definitely made massive strides, but it was in parallel within the field, but doing it on my own.
Wow. That's so awesome to hear. I mean, I think everyone will appreciate, what you're saying. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because I only got to know about it on short notice. I thought, yeah, I'm going to make it. But I had quite a busy time giving workshops and just attending. But I thought I want to get a glimpse to be able to connect, or that it's not so abstract. So I entered conversation last Tuesday, and it was interesting, just the way this talking was going on made such an impression on me. And then I had to leave, but I was sharing it with others, and they got to be so interested. And so I thought that's interesting, that though I'm still in the process of getting into the whole thing, already people are drawn to it, just because I described what I experienced. And sometimes I really honor the small things, because if something like this had definitely an influence on the next days and how I would work or listen. And I agree with Juliet that so much is going on in this time. And yesterday I had the first time a feeling of hope somehow, because I was attending a workshop around the mystery of money on the weekend, and I decided to also look at the dark side of things. And I think this also I heard in the conversation, of course, we meet these things, but I made this decision for myself. And so it takes so much strength to just accept, first of all, that these things are going on. I was considering very much human trafficking and sexuality and money, buying love as a motive. So that was the one thing, and it's a big, big thing. And then suddenly I had this feeling, there is hope if we just reconnect to our heart. And I mean very practical, like Anneliese is holding this space for us, or I can listen to you or touch my heart. And get into coherence. And I thought that's easy, and you can do it, and you can share, and this is already initiating change. And I think you've initiated a lot of change.
That's a beautiful thing, Helena. And I don't know if so you didn't go to the Thursday session of healing for rising to abundance, no, because
No, but could I look at the recording?
the recording,
I
yeah,
tried to find it and I didn't. So
I'll post it as soon as I figure out. Yeah, but what was interesting was so the whole Healing for Rising group, which includes Annalise and Juliet, the new moon ceremonies had been about safe spaces and darkness, without saying too much there that I don't know about. So this was kind of themed the same way. So that when you mentioned, the darkness, that's very interesting. I think you'll enjoy that session. Yeah. And I just want to also ask Juliet, did I interrupt you just now when you were going to? Oh, okay. I suddenly thought maybe you were wanting to say something. Okay. Well, go
There's
ahead.
something I'd like to add. It was, I think, I can't remember actually which session it was in, but and I actually can't remember the person who said this, but it was about obviously kind of looking at all the different things that can be done on a global level and linking everybody in different places. And one of the speakers said, it's all brilliant. And I think he was in Colorado and he's organizing an event in August. So you may know who I'm referring to. But he said, he's been trying to work with people for a very long time and worked with people in very different groups. And he said that what was the most difficult beyond the inspiration and beyond the wanting to make a difference, he said the human elements. And having all these wonderful ideas and these wonderful ideals also is all good and well, but he kind of brought it back down to people meeting, not necessarily agreeing, not necessarily knowing how to deal with their own selves and how to deal with conflict or healing themselves. And for me, that was I think the starting point for me to kind of think, let me go back to this, because that's for me the most that has been part of my own path, and in terms of myself and in terms of my work. And as I said, for me, that was a very important point, is how do we bring together the kind of meta work that the movements are doing with the individuals working within these groups, within the hormones, however you may want to call them, and the healing that we each have to do. And that part of the process, the kind of healing within and spending time with looking at the darkness within, not necessarily as well as in groups, but doing that with ourselves, is something. I don't know if there were sessions specifically on that. I didn't see the healing for rising, but for me, the kind of healing on an individual level before we get to the co-creation was for me the kind of central point. And this is kind of the work that I do. But as I said, that was for me like, okay, the human element. And I hadn't quite seen it that way, but it's yeah, I felt that was, and I wonder whether this is something that in the future it may be kind of looked on a deeper level in terms of what is it that we can do on a personal level within those movements, because they seem to be kind of on a higher, more encompassing way, but so much of the work that is done at that level may not necessarily be, I don't think it's necessary if the work is done on a personal level in the first place. because so much of what is causing the global problems stems from the fact that the self-healing hasn't taken place. And so that's something that just came to mind in terms of maybe the possibility of ensuring that the both work is done in parallel and perhaps explored, kind of given as much importance as the other work. That kind of what came to me. And it may be that I'm missing what the movements are doing, or that I missed some of the sessions. But as I said, I was thinking, you know, I was so enthralled by the fantastic ideas in terms of alternative structures of government, because really kind of what I was seeing was something at such a it's kind of it's changing the world. It's literally kind of an alternative to current governments, current structures, current layers of society, which are absolutely crucial. But the kind of going back to self and going back to self. And I'm not necessarily referring to the people who are part of the movement, because it seems that those people are already doing the work, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. I'm talking about those that we want to be encouraging to come and join. And so yeah, that's that's basically what I want to share. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to that, actually. That's beautiful, Rosa. And I think that for me, that's what this whole time has been about, is I don't know what the word is, if it's birthing or if it's more that we're like a snake shedding. The Homo sapien is shedding its old way of being, its old limiting form and structure and being, to evolve to Homo luminous, I suppose, moving from ego driven for survival, which has brought us to this point. And that over the solstice, for me, one of the things was that it was opening the possibility to become the new human, which is moving beyond the what about me and mine, to being plugged into a luminous network and perceiving and experiencing and knowing ourselves as part of an incredible whole. And the Homo sapien has been the lone survivor, you know, trying to, in the small groups that it may form, but the whole thing's been about defense, protection, and surviving. But that we're crossing a threshold. And for me, this solstice has been very much the kind of breakthrough thresholds of the possibilities of the opening up to realizing we can. There's nothing now that is stopping us. Everything is opening up. The birth canal, or the, you know, the new being is in form enough, or the butterfly and the chrysalis, whatever metaphor you want to use, but the idea that we're already now ready to arrive as Homo luminous, as a new possibility for the human. We've evolved to a threshold, a T-junction, which often means you either radically adapt, a species radically adapts, or it's destroyed. And, you know, I was listening yesterday to what was happening in Teotihuacan in Mexico. Mind-blowing stuff over the solstice, all working together. It was with the Kojis and Jotima and the whole prophecy of the Kojis, and the extraordinary things that were happening there, that is basically made me feel I don't need to be in places anymore to be able to tap into the experience and be so grateful and thankful and feel the uplift of the experience, because we're crossing that threshold to the energetic communication, where we don't have to physically so much. We're not so reliant. It's new. It's brand new. So we're learning. But to me, this solstice and what happened in World Unity Week, just it was bringing higher and higher and higher until we reached that threshold also in World Unity Week, where the possibilities of breaking through from our old conditioning of Homo sapien and ego-based survival, me and mine. What about me? What about mine? Can start to be released. So that was part of my experience. Thank you.
Yes, I would love to continue on what you both shared. I was very conscious of a shift, not exactly on the solstice, but in the days beyond. I came to a place that was quite familiar, and it was like a cycle of 21 years. So that came by, and that I suddenly felt myself as this not seen person, and it really builded from last fall to this, maybe from the 21st of September, maybe, and to the 21st of this solstice, June, and it built and built, and then suddenly I was in a group and someone said, well, this is such an old, very, very old, ancient old female, I won't say karma, but I will say experience, what we're holding here. And so this individual work, what you were talking about, Rosa, and bringing this in also into groups from a perspective of what you work with, it's in there. Also pack this coming to show up in a way, but not without this shift, what you are talking about. I feel this is a shift, has been a shift for me, that I really had to go to the triggers, hold the triggers, be with the triggers. And I felt like, oh my goodness, this is so old-fashioned stuff. Do I really have to do this? And I resented it, and I fighted it, but it was coming through me every time I fighted it, and woof, there it was again. And I even enrolled people in this, that it was really true that I was not seen, but of course that was a trigger, and it was in me, and it was not only in me. I feel myself always like a kind of whole, and so conscious of that as well, and answering to it, let it go, and feel that it was bigger than me, and that it shifted in something which was, oh, it's gone, or something like that. And that was really in these last days. And I feel that I just want to address this, so this evolvement by shifts, it's also happening in World Unity Week. So we first came as well, we bring our gifts. How do we do that? Loop, etc. But it's also this end. It's now like, there is, and who are drawn to that, well, they will go. But I feel also that we are where we are, and for me, I was not so active in World Unity Week as I feel that I normally can be. I noticed that I really had to do the work inside of me, instead of being everywhere, and especially not co-creating from that place. So I found myself, every time that there was a co-creating session, I skipped. Huh? But I love co-creating. What's going on? But I had to step back. So yeah, it's also feeling like I'm entering a new body, something like that. And it's like a new, the earth feels new, has so much abundance. What you talk about, Juliet, also in my garden, I just cannot believe it. And I was emptying the boat with a lot of water because I broke my pulse. I could not do a lot. And I'm doing a little bit more because this new body can do that. And the funny thing was that I sat on a, how do you call, oh my goodness, these little ants, and it was their nests, and I did not notice that I was sitting on their nest, and they gently picked me and said, oh my goodness, I'm sitting on your house, I'm so sorry. And then I sat next to it, and immediately the picking stopped. So it was like, yeah, there's so much congruence. So it really also is not about, if I feel we hold World Unity Week, even if you're not in there, or we resonate with the field, even if you're not there. But it's more like what you said, both. I think that don't leave it so abstract, and tap onto the energy fields of that. And that it's so wonderful that we can share that. And this is what I feel is about it. And I feel some people are really in really bad shape still, and really bad shape, as of their conditionings, of their filters. And their filters might be even very, very old. So yes, I do feel that it's really good to hold that, in what way we can, because there's a Dutch Zen master, he says, no one is left behind, no one. And I feel that so, because there are also groups that say, oh, these people are getting it and these people are not getting it. I love that he says, no one is left behind. We can trust that we all go through this giant leap. Well, I stop now.
Thank you, Annelies. It's very interesting what all of you are sharing. And Juliet, I have been noticing that shift throughout this month, interestingly. And personally, I felt it, as did Shamima. And it was about 2 weeks ago. And we found ourselves arguing. And it was very interesting because we don't argue, we just don't. And eventually, and we both felt so sort of black inside. It was very interesting. And, just coming out of that and realizing, okay, there's something we're tapping into here. It's like time to, shift alignment and so on. And then came World Unity Week, and you could notice, the shift in energy. So with the Healing for Rising to Abundance session, I was doing some truth walking, which is something that I teach based on my book. And I was going to do something like an Akashic Records reading, which you could tie into the whole truth walking system. It would be part of it, the way I was going to do it. And something came to me during those previous sessions, and Rosa, it's something that you were saying about, the inner work, building the personal foundation before you can even move out. And Lise, you spoke about that too. And I suddenly thought about, I felt a calling, like to become the bridge. And that word really resonated. I tried to express this at the continuation ceremony, but I wasn't successful because I kept on thinking, don't go over time. There's like a time limit so that everyone can, fit into that hour, that first hour or whatever. And so I don't think I expressed it. But anyway, the bridging was that people don't need to have the words and the labels that we use, that we know about peace and unity, that we know about 3D and 5D. They don't need to use that, but they're still asking for the same thing, whether they use those labels and that terminology or not, whether they even understand that. And that's where my calling for bridging comes in, because I can make that accessible in their language. Make it accessible when people don't believe that peace and unity is, because we're all asking. And so that's what I did in the session. I was using exercises and examples and things that even if you don't understand, the whole woo-woo, I'm going to use the word woo-woo because that kind of speaking that's of different dimensions, even if you don't understand that, you could still say, well, this does work. What you focus on expands. You can feel this energy by doing this experiment. There is proof in the research, and taking that and going from there, so that everyone can use that for their own personal healing, which I also feel we've come to this space, and there has been this huge shift, interestingly.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge you and Kara, how you beautifully led the sessions, what they called the morning sessions. To Europe, it was the afternoon, of course. But yeah, that was so surprising, and that was truth walking to me in a so who you are as the essence of your gifts, and also knowing that for you both, this was also, it was not new, it was but it was unexperienced as such. And what I loved so much was that you opened up to that totally, and it just fluidly went through you, and the people who love you were all there. And yeah, so to me that was also bridging continents, showing also, not showing up, but also making visible, well, that there is also can be a silence in how you do this, and that there is also a really magnificent presence, seeing, and that it makes a difference. It's what I see Ben Bowler do, but it's also what I saw you do. And I'm so grateful for that. And so, yeah, makes me grateful to be part of this cohort in a way that I believe, yeah, this is what I feel, such a contribution to shifting. Yeah, we cannot bless, I have once learned, but if I could, I would say blessings. Yeah.
I also just want to acknowledge Anne-Marie. She's just amazing getting over to New York and being part of that ceremony with Chief Perry. I think that really bridging continents, that really, and as I was saying in Teotihuacan, there were, in Mexico at the pyramids there, and I think it really felt like there were so many bridging, so much bridging happening of around the world. And I don't know how Anne-Marie does all the traveling. She's amazing. But just having her there, that just felt like a wonderful continuity too.
Yes, I mean, she's awesome, and I don't know, I think I said this, but it was interesting to even do things and knowing that, oh wow, I learned this from Anna Marie, and you know, the example that she sets, and she just walks the path, she embodies the examples. So yeah, she has a presence and an energy. I'm very grateful. Yeah. So go ahead, Helena.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to you and thinking of Anna Marie, and it feels as if I can touch into love. It's so concrete. You know, it's such a subtle shift from the woo-woo side where you read peace and no. You know what I mean? And there's always this point of, as I said, abstraction or whatever. And then just listening to you and being able to feel this is real. This is real. And also the old conditioning, it's so strong. I agree, Annelies. It's so strong. And then it's so interesting how this is shifting. So on the one hand, it has to be super personal, the healing. And I also experience, God, this old stuff, I cannot believe it. And at the same time, observing the subtleness of shift, the healing. And again, it's not the word, it's more like moving from to a different depth and understanding. And I'm so grateful that I know you all are organizing it all on a bigger level. But it wouldn't work if I hadn't been integrating and shifting, and this is all happening at the same time. And it's totally irrational at the same time because it's not linear, and some old part of myself is how am I? It's not to understand in a way.
Yeah. I think that's exactly part of this shift, is that the constraints, if you use a metaphor of a snake shedding its skin, the constraints of the old form, but it's more than that, because we are expanding as we come out, and we're a different being. It's not just the snake, it may be more like the butterfly, but the intellect limited our intelligence because we were so dependent on rational, logical in order to process it and feel that it was worthy. And this is so much more expansive. And so old patterns of judgment of, well, if it's not rational, if the intellect doesn't get it, then it's not really worthy, is dissolving, just dissolving as we expand.
Yes, it feels very much like a snake shedding. As I believe indigenous people say in the South Americans, that the snake stands for the body. And I feel these were really emotions, bodily things in my mind, for instance, that I really had to let come to the surface to be. so that they could go with the peeling off, the falling off, and also this amazing, unbelievable, not being able to think about how things come into another place suddenly from one moment to the other. So life is standing still, and in the next moment everything is bubbling again, and chuk, 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 holding all these sticks again. It's like, okay, but in a different way. So there is yeah, it's so much to be grateful for, and also so much to believe it. It's both. I love that. It's both personal. It's both collective. And I happen to live in the village with Annemarie, and I know her for quite some time. And I've seen this in her moving as well, in this cleaning, these difficulties, this um, um, showing up, but also um, trusting that process, what was also going through her, and this call inside of us. And this is what I really want to acknowledge, and I truly want to acknowledge and say she's awesome, but it's also she chose as a soul this body or this place with these gifts to come in a place, and this is how I see that, parents, to do what she best could do here, and now that's unfolding. And to me, that's a huge gift, because being close to someone like that is a wonderful example. Not to step in her shoes, but really to see the unfolding of yeah having this journey and being why you're here and letting that unfold. I truly love that. So this is what I'm most grateful for, and this is why I not say she's awesome, because I think as she did not truly invent herself, as we are all part of the great creator, I believe that what I acknowledge her so much for is that she makes most of who she was gifted with, and the creation in her. And well, the same is for us. We are here and doing that, and amazing. I'm when you all came in, I was like, my goodness, how is it possible? These beautiful women, and they're all working with this same. We recognize immediately what we work with. It's so, yeah. I'm really beyond. This is my and yeah. And yes, I also believe that there was a great shift in Mexico. It's that yeah. If you are able to see the Humanity Rising YouTube, it's called Day 950. You will get a report. It's on YouTube, Humanity Rising, Day 950. And then you get a report. There I had to really struggle not feeling left out. and it's all fine. And yeah, it's all coming together. It's like we're building this new earth. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I do want to speak to that, the whole bridging continents concept. And Judy, it's something I forgot to say, the Homo luminous, the Homo sapien going to the Homo luminous. I just love the way you express that so wonderfully. Thank you. And the bridging continents, So it really truly has been, we've always been having these meetings as bridging continents. And Juliet, I remember when we were exploring that, when Anna Marie had said, okay, that feels right, you know, and it really did feel right. But here we are, and it was like I was communicating with one of the people who was facilitating the plenary, and I don't know what it was she said, and I said, I said, okay, we'll take care of it. And I said, just be patient with us, because we're in 4 different continents, because, you know, Kara's in France, she's in Europe, I'm in Africa, Ben and Irina are in Australia, and then there's, who else were we working with? I think it was John Raymer, but I can't remember who the specific person was. And I said, and that person's in America. And it was actually the first expression of, oh, wow, we are bridging continents right now, you know, truly. And she said, oh, don't worry, I totally get it, because, you know, I have co-founders, like 100 different co-founders in 20 time zones. So, you know, I get what that's like. And now we really have gone through, you know, 4 different continents, and if you count the participants, not even anyone who was organizing, you know, it's so many more. Juliet Duff enters the waiting. Oh, okay, so she's, I don't know what. There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah. Rosa, since we've all sort of spoken, is there something you want to say before we all check out?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for the response and the kind of self-illumination, but illumination for everybody else. And I just wanted to say, yes, no, it's I agree with all that's been shared, and it's this kind of shift that's happening. I think is also what is most inspiring. That's what's giving me hope in the current situation, and that possibility of shift that can be very quick, but at the same time, I think for at least a lot of us, takes a long time to get to before the shift actually happens. The shift is very quick in itself, and I'm very curious, and that's something that you know, I'd love to hear more about in a future session, or you know, from what Juliet was saying, in terms of the shift that can happen very quickly, because I am aware that a shift can happen instantaneously, and we can shift from one place to another, from one vibration to another, and then we do that even with ourselves in terms of emotions, and we can shift very quickly. But on a kind of planetary level and on a shifting level, as I was listening to you, I was thinking, are we talking about a smaller group of people who will be the catalyst of a shift as a critical mass to a tipping point where then it will help the field, and within the field, and those who are within it kind of change. So that as I was listening to you, I was thinking of those shifts, because it seems that there are so many beautiful souls all over the world connecting, as you were just saying, as you know, in terms of the bridging continents. My background is in film, and for me, I've been seeing that in the art world in terms of people working with different people in all over the place. But that was my as I was listening to you all, I was thinking, you know, is this what I mean, that's what I'm thinking may be happening in terms of a smaller group of people being the catalyst of a shift that is planetary, that will help in terms of the consciousness field or whatever. You know, I know we're getting to the end of the session, but that for me what has brought me to. So thank you for that, and looking forward to follow to next sessions, future sessions.
Well,
Thank
Juliet,
you.
I can see that you want to respond to that. So if you feel like just shortly responding, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, one of the big mysteries, I suppose, is that we're moving from the 3D of matter running our world, which is all really much more quantitative. That's why we've been so obsessed with quantities and measuring and etc. Whereas coming into the energetic noosphere, the time era, it's more qualitative. So, for example, you have one very high consciousness of, say, a Buddha, a Jesus, a Christ, or whatever, and that is so much, that can shift so much more one than, you know, if you put it on a teeter on a balance with one other person, it's a completely different thing. So I think the idea is, because we're dealing with masses of the unconscious asleep people, that as they awaken, that's going to be a qualitative shift that's maybe much, so a far fewer quantity of people who have a high quality, a high consciousness, a high energetic frequency would have maybe much more impact than on a one-to-one scale that we've used in the quantitative world.
I totally concur, because that came to me in the Deep and Rapid Transformation Convergence session with Jude Caravan and Heidi Sparkscuba, and who was the third person, Joni Carly. That's exactly what came, you know, that and the whole critical mass thing. Yeah, well, that's a wonderful, so much bigger discussion, and I think it's one that it would be such a valuable discussion. So let's keep that to flow in that thread next time. Yeah. One word for everyone to check out. Oh, Annalise, rapid, radical, I like that.
Yes, that was one of the essences from Jude's, well, presentation.
Before, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Before we check out, Juliet, were you going to put a link? I can see the message saying link to Humanity Rising session on Mexico experience, but I don't have a link on the chat. Do you?
Yeah, sorry about that. When I tried to copy the link in, it took me out of Zoom. So I've learned now that's happened a couple of times, that I can't copy a link onto Zoom, or else I'm taken out of the room. So it's, as Annalise says, if you just Google, or I can put it in our email. I'll respond to Hasina's last one. I can do it that way. It won't let me in Zoom.
One, what's you know what? I only email a few people because not everyone needs the email. Maybe in the WhatsApp group, you're in there, Juliet?
Yeah, I don't know how to get it onto my phone.
Email to me, and
I'll,
yeah.
and that would be great. And also, by the way, the whole one from about 42 onwards, that whole week, he comes on every day. Jim comes on every day and gives a little synopsis, 5 to 8 minutes of what they've encountered. And the thing, what I must say, just sorry, it's a bit of a side thing, but the thing that I found mind-blowing was that one of the Koji Indians, the Mamo, who was supposed to come, was bitten by a poisonous snake and couldn't make it. And I find that mind-blowing. A Mamo was bitten the day before he was to fly. He was bitten by a poisonous snake on the day that they went into the serpent pyramid. I mean, what kind of message? I would love to hear what happened from that, because I can't imagine Mamos who are living with nature for the first 14 years without using that, you know. Anyways, I found it mind-blowing. But they had a lot of things happening, and that is also mentioned in if you go back through from about what was it, 942 onwards, every day, just the first little bit, or listen more. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, we must definitely continue this. I have an appointment to get ready for, but it's going to be great. Juliet, if you send me the link, I'll post it in the WhatsApp group. Thank you. That is very interesting. Okay. One word to check out, everyone.
Miracle happening.
Shift.
Thanks.
Gratitude.
Love. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
See you next week.